today we have our Sharps training brief, some annual training. We have our brigade representatives here, Sergeant First Class Clute and Miss Stockton. Does anybody know what SHARP stands for, first of all? Yep.
Sexual harassment, assault, and response camp.
Good reading. Okay, and in your own words, do you know what SHARP is, or what it does, or what the program is? Have you received this brief before, retained and absorbed anything? Especially MS4s, I better see some hands. Cadet Bernardi.
Well, the purpose of the brief, ma'am?
Yeah, the purpose of SHARP.
Yeah, so it's basically to educate soldiers on what is appropriate and inappropriate while working in the Army.
Right, appropriate and inappropriate, well, in and out of this uniform, right? Should apply at all times, because when we're in the military, we're representing ourselves as service members at all times. So whether you're in this uniform or you're out of this uniform, I expect you to uphold the Army values, morals, and ethics, right? So appropriate behavior. So today, you're going to get a refresher on what definitions are of specific actions and words. You're going to learn about different reporting methods and different sources that you can report to. Okay? So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to you, Sergeant Clute, and Mrs. Stockton.
Okay. All right, thank you, everyone. I'm Sergeant First Class Clute, your Brigade Sexual Assault Response Coordinator. This is Miss Valerie Stockton, your Brigade Victim Advocate. We are your SHARP team from Fort Liberty. Whoa. Okay, so we cover all 38 battalions, all 38 programs within our brigade. Right? So there's some of your faces I do recognize from a few years back. MS4s, where you go? Threes? Twos? Ones? Okay, so some ones, this is probably your first time seeing this, right? Okay, so what some of the stuff that we talk about is it gets triggering, right? Okay, as you, it could trigger you. I mean, get upset. Who knows someone who has been sexually assaulted before or sexually harassed? A lot of people out there, right? So some of the stuff that we talk about can trigger people, right? So if you feel like you need to leave the classroom for any reason, you need to talk to myself or Ms. Stockton one-on-one. We're here for you for that. Cool? Cool. Okay. So let me go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you this video.
Oh, I pass out a survey. Do not put your name on these surveys, okay?
Yeah, just put UVA at the top.
No names.
You might have seen this video before. I've seen it many times, but I always pull something out.
Hi. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm the reason for all these briefings, the constant preaching, and the redundant teaching. I guess your leadership figures that if you constantly train, and eventually you'll be able to tame me. That's a large feat. I'm the SHA in your SHARP program. I'm the ulcer in the belly of your organization. I'm the degradation of your 7 core values. I'm the bane of your thoughts' existence. I'm the real deal. You all, you're just child's work. I am the strongest army on earth, and ironically, my recruits, they're forces from your armed forces. See, I force discord between brothers and sisters in arms, and forewarning, I'm swarming your ranks at alarming rates. Any day, I'm less than double arms distance away. All it takes is for us to be at close intervals and for her to be dressed right, wearing something tight or something short so it lets me know that she's open for my type of attention. See, she joined so she can be a part of something she can be proud. I'm sure her parents, I'm sure they thought that she would be safe amongst your ranks, but I'm the paw print crawling of your daughter, your little sister's inner thighs while she's in her sleep. I enter her room so I can enter her womb. See, alcohol normally increases my success rate. These two dudes, they saw me drag her, they saw me walk her in and neither of them said a word. Their nonchalantness is the reason I'm so accomplished. They may as well be my accomplice. Intervention is my kryptonite. I would be invincible if it wasn't for nosy battle buddies bold enough to put their noses into my business. The only person with a chance of stopping me is a bystander who's willing to uphold the standard. But as long as he continues to stand down, then I'll continue to stand up and raise the stats up. And oh, by the way, let your EO rep know, I'm all for equal opportunity. I don't discriminate. I operate within seniors and subordinates alike. See, I was saw as a major issue once your sergeant majors were issued walking papers for taking parts in the likes of me. That's when I knew I hit the big leagues. I love to ride the coattail of the higher ranking personnel. I'm a pro at qui pro quo. In my simplest form, I come by way of a sly comment or a compliment with a drizzle of sexual context. I'm rampant throughout your workplace. I hide my face behind jokes and jargon like, well, that's what she said. In a second I see you smile and you fail to correct me. I'm a place to cross it, it's across your head, and I'm across you the next time that we cross paths. And contrary to popular belief, men are also a preference for me. I've been able to assault, I've been able to talk at least 1 in 6 into unwanted sex, and most aren't man enough, most are too man to admit it, so I'm able to operate in iniquity without penalty. See, an assaulted man's ego is badly bruised, but it's still too huge to seek assistance, so the heinous act just sits in his system and eats away at him like cancer. There's no chance of assisting a man who insists on keeping me inside in his little secret. Most think that I'm nocturnal. I'm not. I knock whenever opportunity suits me. I'm normally suited in a familiar face. I've heard some say at about 8 and 10. 8 and 10, 8 and 10, 8 and 10, 8 and 10 military women have met me, but only 3 and 10 will admit it, probably because they're afraid that she'll think they're the reason why the crime is committed. Because you make comments like, well, that's what happens when you wear those rape clothes. When you walk, says I'm willing to let you assault/harass me against my will. And everyone knows that permission and promiscuous is paternal twins. You can't blame him if she was out after 1 a.m. It's common knowledge that old body parts up for grabs after midnight. She met me because she kept a grown man parked in a friend zone for too long, when she knew all along all he wanted to do was break his parking brake off in her. She should have known better than to trust someone who called themselves a friend. And let me give you some other reasons why she didn't report. She didn't report it because the last time she was the subject of something similar, she was subject to questioning like she was the prime suspect. She didn't know. She had no clue that harassment was punishable by finger pointing. She said they held enough fingers in her face to outfit a million hands. She learned that her shorts would be called to the stand as a cotton material witness to testify against her, that her legs were out after midnight. She learned that in the land of the free, harassment was punishment for having the nerve to choose your own wardrobe. She learned that she could be convicted of having an enticing figure. Now go figure. Assaulters are people just like you. We don't deserve to be tempted. In case you hadn't sniffed it. I'm sexual harassment. And if you don't learn to control me, I'll continue to be the oasis of hate surrounding your rings. I'm the new age form of fratricide. I'm the sum of division. And you'll never be able to solve me if you don't stick together. I'm a combat minimizer. And until you learn to defeat me, you'll never be able to defeat your country's enemy. I want to thank you for your ongoing support.
Okay, so I want to thank you for your ongoing support. What does he mean by that? What does that mean? What does that say to you guys? Yes, sir.
I mean, sexual harassment is still present in today's Army, and continues to be a part of the culture, even if we don't, even if we outwardly don't support it.
Right, right. Culture, you brought up a good thing with culture, right? MS Sports, you've seen this class quite a bit, right? Why do you think we do this all the time? Yeah,
Because it continues to be a problem.
continues to be a problem. Just like Mr. West was saying, that was Mr. Obi West, right? He used to be a logistics officer, chief warrant officer. He's not a sharp professional, like myself and Mr. He just got sick of hearing about it, so he did this bone on it. All right, so what else did we pull from that video? What else spoke to you? Yes, sir.
That within the culture of a unit, it can start with small things, just like comments. He says, that's what she said, Joe. It can start small,
Right.
and when that culture is established, it can get really important until it becomes criminal.
Leads into a sexual assault, right? Exactly. Did he talk about victim blaming in there? What did he say about that?
We talked about how, like, as though, even though it happens to a lot of people, not a lot of people report it because they're too afraid of, like, getting questioned and having to relive the trauma that they don't want to live, or feel like they're being blamed for something that they did, but when they didn't do anything, and they shouldn't have to feel that way or be that, questioned about something they don't really want to talk about too much.
Right, right. So, Patrick, as leaders, do we tend to victim blame? Or as humans, do we tend to victim blame? Like when someone gets in trouble, right? What do you say? Well, what were you doing? Why were you there? Right? Well, were you drinking? Right? Do we do that as humans? Do we do that? All right, so when it comes to sharp, right, just because you maybe if you're underage and you're drinking, right, doesn't give you them the excuse of sexually assault. Does that make sense to you guys? Right? So we got to be careful when we get out to our units, right, and we're lieutenants, right, and we have a sharp issue that comes our way, how are we going to handle it, right? You guys are not all going to be sharp professionals. Some of you may be, right? But you're going to have to figure out how to navigate this program, all right? This is your guys' program, okay? You guys are going to be commanders one day. It's your program. We're here to assist you, all right? But when they come, something happens, you're going to have to deal with it, all right? So guess who's going to be doing sharp training at your unit level? You think the SART and the Big A is going to do it for you guys? Who do you think is going to come from? From the LTs, right? Why MS Force? Right next year. Guess who's going to be giving sharp training? You guys, right? You guys. So pay attention to what we're about to present, and you can pull tools from this and stuff, right? And then we'll continue on. Oh, the Title IX coordinator is here?
Yes.
Oh, I would like to introduce Miss.
Molly's Lock.
Okay, so this is your Title IX coordinator for the university. If you want to take it going, ma'am, and I'll keep your slides up before we get started.
Hi everyone, how are you? Yes, my name is Molly Zlock. I'm the Assistant Vice President and Title IX Coordinator here at EVA. So in that role, I serve in the capacity of, I'm responsible for the university's response to any report involving sexual misconduct on campus, okay? Obviously, when we're talking about sexual misconduct, you guys just all watched the video, I know, but I do like to give a little bit of a warning that I'm going to talk about some sensitive subjects. If statistics in higher ed and in the military are correct, we likely have some folks that may have been already impacted by this type of behavior. I don't ever ask anybody to participate in the presentation for that reason. I just do ask that everybody gives the space. You might think that you know a lot about the person sitting next to you, but you might not know everything. And so let's just make sure as we're having this conversation that we're remembering that moving forward. Okay, so Title IX is a federal law, it was enacted in 1972. The purpose was really always equity involved, particularly equity with different genders, sex equity. However, it was first known more about creating more equity in resources involving sports in college athletics, okay? Through court cases and federal regulations and a whole bunch of national kind of incidents that happened, it's been expanded to now be known to be the response for sexual misconduct within educational communities, okay? It has really, over the last decade, I would say, I've been doing Title IX work since 2014, and over the last decade has really evolved, and a lot has changed. And a lot of folks don't necessarily know everything that the Title IX office can do or what we do here. Okay? So really quick, I just want to touch on what is sexual misconduct. These are our policy violations. So you see up there sexual harassment. It sounds like the video, I just caught the tail end of it though, but it was definitely talking about sexual harassment. We had recognized two different types of sexual harassment, quid pro quo, which is the this for that. In an academic setting, it most likely occurs if a professor or somebody in power tells another person, if you sleep with me, I'll give you an A, or reverse, if you don't sleep with me, you won't pass this class. That is unfortunately still sometimes happening in these settings. But more likely or not, we have hostile environment. So hostile environment is just creating an environment that's so hostile that it's impacting a person's everyday life. And we see those cases more often than the quid pro quo. Also sexual assault, non-consensual sexual intercourse, and non-consensual sexual contact. Both of those things are considered sexual assault. Dating violence, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, they all fall under the same umbrella. And unfortunately, we only see these statistics growing. Okay, so this is behavior that despite all the prevention efforts we've thrown towards it, we still have not been able to see the impact that we would want those prevention efforts to have on this area. Okay, and it's certainly taking place here at UVA, but nationally as well. We're seeing a large increase. Stalking's up there. I know your generation might use this term differently than what it means under our policy. This is not going on somebody's social media and being interested in what they were doing 3 years ago and accidentally hitting a like button. Stalking really is intentional by the person who's causing the behavior. They want the other person to know that they are in their space, that they're disrespecting their boundaries. Stalking can be terrifying. And generally, by the time it gets reported to my office, we are at that place where we are likely needing to involve police and other measures because it has gotten to a place that there's a fear for safety involved. Sexual exploitation, a lot of folks don't know what this is, but we define it as the invasion of somebody's sexual privacy. So it could be videotaping an otherwise consensual act without the person's knowledge. Certainly it could be distributing explicit photos of another person without their consent. There is a strong misperception that if a person just gives another person an explicit photo of themselves, that they lose control over it. That is not the case. You never lose control over your own body image, okay? And if another person is distributing that beyond what you consented to, they're violating sexual exploitation, okay? In some jurisdictions, it's also against the law. And then finally, we have retaliation and complicity. So retaliation is any adverse action taken against somebody for being involved in the Title IX process. So that means either as a reporter, an impacted party, a respondent, or even a witness can be protected under our retaliation policy. Complicity, well, I can't say that word. We find this most often if we have a situation where a group of people have acted in concert with one another to facilitate one of these other violations to occur. Most likely if it's involving drugging another person in order to have sex with that person when they're in an incapacitated state. The other folks that were involved with that could be held to this policy violation. So these are our policy violations, but I want to just touch really quickly on the fact that, the spectrum of sexual misconduct is actually very large, okay? It's not just everything that falls up here. All sexual misconduct can be impactful. This is the sexual misconduct that we can hold somebody accountable for, right? But all sexual misconduct is impactful on the party that experienced it. So I'll give you a quick example of sexual misconduct that might not necessarily amount to a policy violation, but certainly can hurt somebody. Is it's as simple as this: a cat call, right? You could be walking down the street and somebody yells something out a car window, right? We're likely not going to be able to necessarily identify the person that committed that behavior. Even if we did, one incident would not necessarily amount to sexual harassment under our policy violation. But I can guarantee you the person who experienced it immediately felt vulnerable, right? They immediately felt unsafe. And so the Title IX office is still able to respond to that impacted party and offer them the support and resources that they need, okay? Just a little example. So reporting to Title IX is very, very important. I'm going to name off some reasons. Again, as I just said, Title IX is about reporting to impact of sexual misconduct. It's not necessarily about holding somebody accountable for the behavior. So I do know, I've heard at UVA, I haven't been here that long, but I have definitely heard that folks think the only reason to report to Title IX is if they're interested in an investigation into what happened. And most people that do report to Title IX are actually not interested in going through an investigation. They are looking for supportive measures and resources. And that's what we can do. We immediately can connect a person, the complainant, the impacted party, with those supportive measures and resources and information, and they are then able to make a decision about what they want to do next, all right? And that's what we consider the empowerment model. So if a person makes a report, we reach out to them, we give them information regarding their options, and then we wait for them to make a decision about what they want to happen next. A lot of times they don't engage at all, and that's perfectly fine. Sometimes they just want a supportive measure put into place, and we can do that, and I'm going to talk about what those are. Other times they want to come in and talk a little bit more about those accountability processes that we have, and we'll do that. That doesn't start an investigation, right? That's just gathering information and getting to the place where you might want to decide whether or not you want to take that route. Or they can do nothing, right? And that's a valid choice. So they might not be in a position where they're ready to make any type of decision on anything at that moment, but they have the information. They can refer back to it at a later time if they want to. And when they're in a better position to make a decision for themselves. Okay? And finally, I just mentioned this. Obviously, those other reasons are so much more important to make a report. But reporting also gives the university data back that we can use to kind of determine what's happening in our community and be able to create prevention educational initiatives to hopefully start preventing some of the harm before it even starts occurring. Okay, so data helps my office in particular recognize trends that we're seeing, right? So if I'm seeing a particular trend of something happening within a particular group, I can go to that group and say, hey, I think that y'all would benefit from some training in this area, and that, right? So that's another reason why reporting is really important. Okay, supportive measures. Really, I just want to emphasize this over and over again. A person can receive supportive measures from the university without going through any type of accountability process or resolution process. All right? If you make a report to the Title IX office and all you're looking for is a supportive measure, that's perfectly fine. All right? So supportive measures in general include no contact directives. These are extremely effective. All right, they are. There's a lot of great reasons why somebody might not want to go through a full investigation, a 6-month, 9-month investigation, but they want to prevent that other person from being able to text them. They don't want to sit in the same classroom as the other person. They don't want to hear from that other person's friends about messages that they're trying to give them, right? So no contact directives, we can put those in place. They're mutual, meaning they're non-disciplinarian, meaning they don't go on anybody's educational record, all right? So there's no sanction involved or anything like that. The university is just telling 2 individuals not to have any further contact. And these are not protective orders that are issued by the state and the county that tell a person to stay within so many feet from another person, all right? 2 people can exist in the same space, they're just not going to talk to one another when they're in that space, all right? So they're very effective. We also have modifications to class schedules and housing assignments. Those are very popular, especially if an incident took place that maybe in a res hall, right? And both parties live in the same res hall. Well, it's understandable that you might not want to live there anymore. And so we can work it so you can be moved to a different area. And then finally, we also have academic accommodations. And I think these are also extremely important. You know, we don't know a whole bunch about trauma. Trauma is still a pretty undiscovered area. However, what we do know is that it starts impacting things like academic performance pretty quickly, right? No matter what the trauma is, okay? And, certainly sexual violence trauma definitely has an impact in this area. We also know that trauma doesn't really have an endpoint, right? You can't designate a date and say on November 14th, I'm going to be over this. It's just not how it works. So if you have an experience that happens maybe your first year here and you're still dealing with that trauma, your senior year, you're still going to get an academic accommodation if that's something that you request. Okay, we certainly recognize that it's not this thing that you can determine when it's going to end. All right. So all these supportive measures are in place to try to help a person realize the impact and be able to work through it and navigate what has happened to them. Another thing that can be impactful is being accused or alleged to have committed sexual misconduct. And so we recognize that those folks need support as well. Respondents aren't necessarily informed that they've been reported to the university unless I'm putting a no contact directive in place, or the party might have requested that we conduct what's called an educational conversation with that person, or if we're putting a person under investigation, okay? And in those cases, when I do inform a person one of those things are happening, I also offer supportive measures to them as well, okay? We want to make sure that they're cared for and that they also have the resources available to navigate, again, a very difficult situation that's occurred. Okay, we have confidential resources and support. I think these are really important. Again, I wouldn't want anybody who's not ready to disclose their experience to the university to lose the opportunity to talk to somebody with confidentiality. So for students, I recommend CAPS. There's also the Women's Center. I know that name is a little misleading, but they do serve everybody here at campus. We also have the healthcare system and the medical center. Off grounds, the Sexual Assault Resource Agency, SARA, they're fantastic. I've met with them a couple of times and they really are passionate about the work that they do here locally. We have SHE, which is Shelter in Emergency, and as well as victim advocates, both in the county and city, to assist. Let's go talk about resolution processes really quickly. So you're aware of them. Again, I would say 97% is my experience. 97% of people that report to their university that they've experienced sexual misconduct are not looking for a resolution process. They're looking for supportive measures and resources. but we'll cover them just so everybody's aware. We do have two different kinds. First, we have the formal process. Again, this is an investigation, okay? We have investigators that are on staff, highly trained, and they conduct a full investigation. They meet with both parties. The parties are able to have an advisor. Most often, that advisor is an attorney with them. They are able to share their account of things as well as any evidence that might be helpful in corroborating that account. They can also present any witnesses that they want. We release what's called a preliminary report. They have the opportunity to respond to that preliminary report. That's pretty much everything that we've collected in the investigation. They have an opportunity to see it and respond to it. And then we issue what's called a final report, and they also have an opportunity to respond to that. Then we have hearing. And the regulations that are in place right now require that to be a live hearing. We do conduct it over Zoom to try to make all parties feel more comfortable. And there is cross-examination that can be done by those advisors within that hearing. Okay. We also have appeals rights, and so both parties have the right to an appeal. So if there's a responsible finding, the respondent has the right to appeal that decision. The complainant has the right to appeal whatever sanctions were put into place if they did not feel that those sanctions were adequate enough. If it's a not responsible, the complainant would have the right to appeal that decision. All right. I hear very often from folks that, they, again, aren't interested in that very long investigative process. It is invasive, and it can be really, impactful in of itself. I do hear very often from folks, I just don't want this to happen again. I want the other party to realize the impact that this had on me. I want them to learn and not cause this type of harm moving forward. So we have what's called our alternative process. Again, there can't be any sanctions handed down, so a person's not going to be removed from the university, expelled from the university through this process, but they might we might agree that they attend certain educational initiatives that would be appropriate for what's being alleged. We can certainly make sure that there's letters of impact that can be given and read, and if appropriate, responded to. We can put space parameters on that. So earlier I said, you might not want to sit in the same class. Well, if you are registered for the same class, the respondent is going to give preference to the complainant to allow that person to stay in the class while they find an alternative class for that particular subject. Same with res hall assignments, we can give preference. So there's a lot of things that we can work within this alternative process that doesn't necessarily involve that very long investigatory process that we have under the formal. Okay, and finally, I'm just going to plug our websites here. We have the EOCR website that has all of our policies and procedures on it. I know you all probably love to read policies that are, 200 pages long. That sounds like a lot of fun, right? But they're there if you want to look them over, if you ever feel that you're in a position that you'd like to look at those. Alternatively, we have CAVCare. And CAVCare is an interactive website that kind of leads you through what some of the information that I just talked about. It definitely goes more into depth with that information. But it also allows you to, let's say you want more information because somebody close to you has had an experience. How can I support a person who's had an experience? Well, it's interactive and it walks you through steps of how to do that. So that's a very helpful website. And that's it for me. I'm going to stick around though. Okay. And if does anybody have any questions regarding Title IX?
Thank you for coming in today. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more about if students wanted to pursue formal legal action, how would that tie in with the university approach at the same time? And would you recommend going to the Title IX office first or the police office first?
Right, so they are two separate processes, and anybody can certainly go the criminal route, that's perfectly fine. I will assist you in connecting you with the folks that you would need to talk to going through the criminal route. There's a lot of major differences between these two, okay? So the Title IX process doesn't have the ability to put somebody in jail, right? We don't have the ability to take somebody's freedom away. And so it is a much lower standard to find somebody responsible for that, okay? So criminal, obviously you've heard of beyond a reasonable doubt, right? 100%. And then that person will be convicted and serve a sentence. In Title IX, it's more likely than not it's the standard. So if you're looking at that percentage scale, it's 51%, much lower. All right, so there's a reason why a person might want to do the Title IX route, because it doesn't take that beyond a reasonable doubt. You can certainly do both at the same time. Title IX, as long as it is still going to move much faster than the criminal. I think the criminal docket right now is averaging probably 2 to 3 years. Finally, our policy violations don't automatically line up specifically with crimes. For example, that the terminology might be different. Non-consensual sexual contact might be referred to as fondling criminally, but certainly there's a lot of similarities, but still a lot of differences too. I don't have a recommendation on who does what first. I just will say that if a person wants to explore both of them, I'm happy to help them do so. And I work very, very closely with RUPD, and so, you know, the message is similar that they're giving as well.
Ma'am, I had a series of questions. Okay, so you said that the investigation process is around 6 to 9 months, right? So I understand that it's a very intensive process and stuff, but if it were to happen, say, in the spring of your second semester, would it continue on to the summer and the next academic year?
Yes.
Okay, and the processes that you would put in place, like space parameters or things like that, would that also, like if this happened your first year, would it continue through your entire, like, 4 years here at UVA?
Yeah, so if we do that alternative process, and let's say it happens the first year, and we go into an alternative resolution agreement, and, you know, everybody kind of signs that, that's going to last throughout the time at UVA.
Okay.
Any kind of sanction that would occur from a formal process, so let's say you go to the hearing and there's a responsible finding, generally speaking, it depends on the behavior that's being alleged, but I would say for penetrative sexual assault, it's most likely an expulsion from the university. Sometimes it's a lengthy suspension.
Okay, and if you were to move off grounds, would the university have a say in, like, of those housing parameters for apartments that are not on ground?
No, not necessarily. It's hard for us to control those things off grounds. But if both parties are in agreement, like if you know where you're going to live and, you know, you're not, there might be room for negotiating that to the other party. I just don't know how enforceable that would be by the university.
Okay, one more question. So if one person is accused multiple times, but it was for, I wouldn't say minor things, but they weren't something so quick that would cause expulsion, and they were under investigation by multiple people or multiple times over the course of their career, so is that like a strike policy for them, or?
So all of our violations would likely involve, if there's a responsible finding, it's more than likely a suspension from the university. Sexual assault is more likely an expulsion. But if there is a history of behavior and it happens again, we're going to take that into account. Generally speaking, I also have the ability to interim suspend somebody if I feel that they are a danger to our community, and that would likely come into play then as well. There's not a lot of times, again, I talked about that empowerment model. You know, again, the only time, the times that the university is going to have to investigate, regardless of anything, is if we're receiving that the same respondent's name over and over again. I'd say twice, depending on the behavior. But if I receive the same name twice and it involves sexual assault, I'm going to open an investigation against that individual, but the parties, the complainants, have the opportunity to determine if they want to participate or not.
Okay, thank you.
Right. And I'm also looking at interim suspension in those cases.
Any other questions?
And Ms. Stockton had one now.
Yes, I have a question. And I kind of asked the question, why does it take from 6 to 9 to 12 months?
Yeah.
Why does it take that?
So I will say, generally speaking, a Title IX investigation can involve obviously both parties. But then there's, a lot of times, there's about 10 to 12 witnesses that the parties ask us to interview. And so really, it's scheduling interviews, and it's scheduling interviews against student schedules, against the university calendar. You know, we stop our investigations during finals, and so that's a big, right now we're going into a big period where our investigations have to stop. Thanksgiving holiday, finals, and the winter break.
And my next question, so we're talking about a freshman and a senior. It says suppose that senior is supposed to graduate. So, and it happens and it goes into graduation. Does that person not get just because they were a freshman and was a senior, get to graduate and go on?
No,
Okay.
I hold degrees.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Good to
Good.
know.
Yeah, so if you're put under investigation right before you're due to graduate, I'm gonna put a hold on your degree. You might, depending on where we are in the investigation, you might be able to participate in graduation. But if we're at the, if we have a responsible finding and we're in like the appeal stage, right when graduation's happening, I'll prohibit them from participating in graduation too.
The only question I have, ma'am, is if it would involve our cadets
Yeah.
and they go to you guys, would you share the findings of the investigation with us? With
I believe so.
Okay, because some Title IXs do.
Yeah.
I have seen them. I've seen the complete thing.
Right.
And some Title IXs do like no.
I think we would because the school is part of our campus, and so it's like a
Okay.
yeah.
So that's good for us to know now. We do get them sometimes.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ms. Vaughn?
Sorry, vice versa, if you have a report.
I'm going to tell you about the Army stuff. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll be here.
All right, so she covered a lot of what we're going to talk about. We're going to get a little bit more in depth though, and we're going to give examples of what this stuff is. Like here's the disclaimer, you know, like what we're talking about. This is sensitive, right? So when we start talking about examples and stuff, I don't want to put anybody through any, you know, triggering moments. So if you need to leave, you talk to each one of us if you need to. Okay, so what we're going to cover is we're going to talk about all those same things, but we're going to, like sexual harassment, we're going to get into it though. We're going to talk about what it looks like, all right? What is sexual assault, all right, what that looks like. We're going to talk about bystander intervention, all right? And she already discussed a little bit of retaliation. Okay, so she was also talking about data, right? Well, this is our data that we have in all 38 schools that we have. Okay, these are sexual assaults, these cadet sexual assault reports. Okay, you can see that it's going down, right? I don't know how your data looks, ma'am. Has it been trending down?
Oh, the pandemic played such a role in it. It's really hard to see. Certain areas, like I said, IPV is on the rise. But other behavior, it really depends on like sexual assault obviously fell during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I would say we're still kind of coming out of that, so it's hard to really say.
Well, this is what we see in within our brigade. Okay, so it looks like it's trending down, right? But you know, so when the PMS, when she mentioned in the beginning, what is SHARP, right? And I think you answered it, right?
Yes.
All right, so you can read what it says up there. All right, but I like to, you know, there's an A in there. I like to use awareness for there. Okay, so awareness, what we're doing today, We got, and then prevention, she talked a little about prevention efforts, right? And then response. Right? That's in there too, right? The R, but I substitute the A for awareness. So, okay, out of those three things, what do you think your direct thing that you can impact Sharp the most as a cadet?
Awareness. Like, I guess us being aware of like what to look for.
Well, that's what we're doing today, right?
Yeah.
What are you going to be responding to it?
Ideally, yes.
We should be the ones preventing it.
Preventing it, right? Because you guys are with each other, you guys are seeing what it is, right? You guys are out there, you guys are hearing the jokes, right? So you guys are excellent, you can be an excellent preventive measure for this, right? Okay. All right, so who mentioned this? It's one of you guys, I think it was you, right? Who was mentioning that it starts with the jokes? It was you, right? This is exactly what he was talking about, right? So you see that we want to operate in that green level, right? But those jokes, that's how it leads, and the culture, right? If we accept it, you know, what are we doing with this, right? All right. So, do we tolerate sexual harassment? You guys tolerate it? Do you guys know Candace? You guys know Candace? Sir, do you know Candace?
Oh, it's done, man.
Huh?
I do not think so, Glenn.
Can this D fit in your mouth? All right, so, you guys heard that joke before? You guys heard that joke? Have you, Kendra, you heard that joke before?
You got a first timer over here.
First, never heard that.
Absolutely not.
Never, you thought I was talking about Candace, right? Some person named Candace, right? That's how it starts. Is that sexual harassment?
Yes.
Would you consider that sexual harassment? Okay, so some of you all chuckled about it, right? So do we have that culture where we're saying these jokes that is acceptable? And there's a lot of other ones out there too, right? It's just one I heard at CST a few years back. All right, but it starts with that stuff, guys, right? And it leads in to what the more stuff. If you're letting these jokes happen within your formation, right? Let's see what else they can get away with. You know, finally leading to that sexual assault, like you were talking about, right? So that's what we call that's the continuum of harm, right? And she mentioned you said about 12 witnesses, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So and I'm talking. This is going to be. We're just talking about sexual harassment, right? So we have the complainant and the perpetrator, right? And then we got a chain of command that gets involved, and we start losing people out of that fight, right? So what's an effective ratio to effectively assault the objective? What's that ratio? 3 to 1, right? So if I took, it's about 20 people that we take out of the fight here. So if I took 20 of you guys out of this room, are we combat ready? Can we effectively assault the objective? All right, so would you say this is a part of readiness? Right? Most definitely. Okay. Going back to the stats. I missed this. Going back to the stats. Who thinks this is a reporting issue or a prevention? We're doing a hell of a good job at prevention. Let's say reporting. Who says it's a reporting issue? We don't want, it's low because of reporting. Okay? We're not reporting this. Okay, why do you say that?
I think I was going to say I think it's both of them, but I think both need to be fixed, but they both have their own issues that have their own solutions that need to be improved over time. But in terms of prevention, I think that's important because you need to have everyone educated so that they can prevent it, either as a bystander or someone directly involved in a situation. But then reporting that we have an issue with these things happening to people, but they do not have the courage to come forward with it because they're afraid of the repercussions from it.
Boundaries, right?
And they don't want to have to deal with those, or feel like they're being punished over something that they didn't do or they didn't want and they did not like experiencing.
Right, that's right, yeah, because you were mentioning that earlier. Who thinks we're doing a really good job at prevention? Why do you think we're doing a good job?
Can I ask clarification, sir? And how many people total are in the 4th Brigade?
Because if there's like a lot of people, then it'd probably be a reporting.
What's 38 times 75? What is that? 38 times 75. Do your test. That's how much. That's how many cadets there are. Right? So 38 times 75.
21, let's go.
Okay? That's how many cadets we have.
Then I would probably change it to be it's more of a reporting problem.
Reporting problem? Okay, all right. I think, you know, I think we're doing good at prevention, right? And we need to continue to do a good job of reporting. Is definitely an issue, right? And we're going to talk about those barriers a little bit later. Yes.
Well, I just had a question about the
Yes, sir.
previous slide. So it said financial year for 2023, and as the year isn't over, that's just so far this year.
This are fiscal year, so that just ended in October. So yeah, so we're in 24 now. And we had 2, right? 2 in October, 3.
We have some MSLs and some non-military people, so the fiscal year for the military is October 1st to September 30th. So it's different than the calendar year, which is, you know, January 1st to December 31st. So it's different. That's what the military runs on, the government fiscal year.
Do you also see like disparities across the brigades, or do the numbers tend to be similar across each of them?
Okay, depending on which brigade it is, the numbers fluctuate. But with us, it fluctuates depending on what semester, what happened. Spring break up, for some reason Halloween up.
Yeah.
Any break, Christmas break, when people come back off Christmas break up, summer. We also have a lot of, well, not so much now, SCST. But I see in different brigades where we have our SAR, which is the Sexual Harassment Review Board. Some brigades don't have any, but that has not been since I've been working there. And that's been since 2009. I've been doing this job since 2011. 4th Brigade has never been one to be able to sit out of that review board. We've always had to report a sexual assault. Every month, 4th Brigade has always had to report a sexual assault.
We're currently working 6 cases in that board.
3rd Brigade normally don't have any. 7 always have some. But it's normally 3rd Brigade that don't have any.
We had just talked about whether it was effective prevention or reporting. Do you think the difference in brigades is more to do with the reporting or the prevention between the brigades?
I almost know for a fact, it's reporting with them. It's not prevention. It's reporting because we had to cover down on 2nd. 2nd Brigade covers from Maine down to Pennsylvania. We take Delaware down to South Carolina. When we were covering down for them, they had so many sexual assaults that was not reported, and when they were reported, nothing was done. So I know for just from talking to their SARC and VA, we know they have a reporting problem in those other brigades. Yes.
Is there more of a problem like once it gets reported, it goes up and then it just disappears and nobody talks about it anymore, or is it just people not reporting?
People not reporting.
People not reporting because this is the thing. When we talk to Army cadets about reporting, I tell all Army cadets, because we're your Army cadets about reporting, I tell all Army cadets, because we're your extra layer besides Title IX, call your local police if you want someone to be held responsible. Because I'm getting better results with cadets that are being sexually assaulted. If they went to the local police, and I had this call just today, when they go to the local police, then I'm getting better results. If you want someone to be held accountable, just like she told you, Title IX don't lock anybody up. If you want someone to be in a courtroom, and especially if it's cadet on cadet, this is 4 years. The Army is the rest of your life. If you plan on making this a career. So if you want them not to get commissioned, we still have that extra investigation that we can do. Even if Title IX say, hey, it was unfounded here, the PMS has the right and the commander has the right to say we're going to do an Army investigation, which is a 15-6. So that person still may not get commissioned. Because there's a thing that's called cadet unbecoming of an officer, misconduct. How many in here are contracted already? How many of you read all, I think it's 8 pages, how many of you read everything in that contract? Okay. So this is the thing. Your PMS has the right to say, hey, this person's character is in question, and I'm not going to, it's up to her whether you get contracted, whether you get commissioned or not.
Even if she finds it's unfounded from her, right? Just because you're named as a subject in there, maybe we don't want to commission this person. And the police said no, there was no PC. Title IX said no, but we do our own 15-6. I mean.
So let's maybe reframe this. We're looking at prevention versus reporting. Let's talk about culture.
Yes.
What kind of a culture are you fostering and cultivating within your unit? And who is going to be the leader, the young leader in their unit, in their small unit? You guys. So you're going to be setting a tone, correct? You're going to be the person that people report to. So is it going to stop with you and not get reported, or are you going to do the right thing? So you can be a difference maker. You can impact change. You can impact culture. You can impact how we've been socialized for many years, which is very hard to erase and put in the right stuff, right? Get rid of the bad, put in the good. So it's a cultural issue, and that's what I think you see in some of the brigades. Look to the leadership. Who is it getting reported to, and where is it maybe bottlenecking or not being dealt with appropriately, right? Seriously and appropriately. Because it rips at our fiber. This is a readiness issue. It rips at the very fiber of your unit and pulls you apart. If you let this stuff start to happen, it festers and grows kind of like a big pimple with pus, right? So you don't want it to even start. That's the slippery slope stuff he was talking about earlier. Starts with jokes. That's just the starting point, but that's the beginning of the slope, right? And then it's the gateway into other things. So I know it sounds like we're doing the big scary boogeyman monster, but truth in lending, and you can probably ask anybody up here, they've seen it. Okay, we've all seen it in our units, unfortunately. It's alive and well. Okay?
Who knows who Vanessa Guillen is? Okay, so what happened? Who is Vanessa Guillen? Barnett?
Barnett, sorry. She was a soldier in, I think it was Fort Bliss.
Fort Hood.
Fort Hood, Texas, and she was sexually assaulted. I'm not specific, or I'm not aware of the specific details currently, but I know she was sexually assaulted, and then she tried to report it, and like her reports weren't validated, and then I can remember what I know she ended up dying. Right, sorry, I'm not sure.
She was killed, right?
She was killed, yes, sir.
Murdered, right?
Sorry.
All right, so right there, I just said someone died because of a sharp issue, because we didn't handle that appropriately. I say we as an army, right? So that's what we're trying to tell you, right? This is a part of readiness. Now I just put someone's death into it. So if this doesn't open your eyes to sharp, and we're just doing sharp just for check the block. You guys got to really take this to heart. You understand? Okay. All right, we talked about that. So Army's policy on sexual harassment is unacceptable and not be tolerated. All right? Now, I know Miss Molly said the two, she's like, if she gets it a second time, she's probably going to do an investigation, right? If we do one investigation, right, and you're a complainant or you're the subject of that sexual harassment for telling a Candace joke, guess what happens? Just guess. Yes, ma'am.
You're kicked out of the Army.
We're disenrolling you, right? We are going to disenroll you from ROTC. I don't know what y'all going to do, but we're disenrolling you from ROTC. All right? So, sir, say that you become a subject of a sexual harassment because you were telling Candace jokes, right? What do you think is going to happen to you?
Oh, my career is over.
Like what? Like, what do you mean it's over?
Oh, I lose this. I don't wear this uniform anymore.
You lose it.
I lose it. I lose everything that I've worked 10 years for. Gone.
Involuntary separation.
Yep.
All right, ma'am, you're a lieutenant colonel. What do you think happens to you?
Career over prior to hitting retirement, prior to working for 19 and a half years.
So you have 19 years in, right? And you become a subject of a sexual harassment for telling, for Candace joke or whatever, just because she's a lieutenant colonel. Doesn't matter. Involuntary separation. You understand? Okay, that just changed last year. Okay? So unacceptable will not be tolerated. We talked about teamwork and how it affects readiness. All right, so on definition of sexual harassment, she mentioned a quid pro quo and a hostile environment, right? What was the Candace joke? Where was that? Was that quid pro quo or hostile environment? Okay, the quid pro quo was like a professor. She gave good examples of that. All right, but let's read the definition. All right, someone read that for me.
Involves unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and deliberate or repeated offensive comments or gestures of a sexual nature.
Win. Okay? Now, we have three categories: verbal, nonverbal, and physical contact. All right? She mentioned catcall. Ms. Molly mentioned catcalls, right? What category does that fall underneath? Verbal. Okay. What else is verbal? It's not up there no more, guys. What else is verbal?
Like using pet names. Like
Pet names?
Or
Right? Okay, so what do we say up here at UVA? Because every school is different. We go to a lot of them. We've been 18 so far. So is a cat call just like a whistle? Is that what it is? We all doing up here. How do you holler at somebody? How do you get at somebody? Come on, you guys. You guys, give me your lingo. We're being aware today, right? What do you got? How are you trying to get at somebody? Yeah.
It's not us, it's not this group. But G-Y-A-T-T. Oh, yeah. Is that right?
What do you say?
Yeah.
You heard that one? Okay, let's keep it down. We gotta get through this. All right, what else are we hearing?
I need that one defined.
Yeah.
It's like goddamn. I feel.
Is that like, man, that person looks good? Yeah, like that? Is that how you do it? How do you use it? Y'all don't use it?
No, we don't use it.
You know the definition?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, do you guys think that's sexual harassment?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Kendrick? All right, so we gotta be aware, right? We gotta know what we're talking about, right? Sometimes when we're looking at investigations, I don't know if you do this, or and reading through text messages, we get a young person to help us. Just say, what does this mean? Right?
Yeah, I'm of no help.
Yeah, so, yeah, okay. So that's basically that. All right, so then we have nonverbal. What's nonverbal, guys? Sexual harassment.
Be like if somebody's walking by and you're like looking at them, and like you can tell.
Staring at them? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Is that getting like texting?
Right, texting? Yeah.
Inappropriate gestures?
Inappropriate gestures? Yes, sir.
Inappropriate music.
Inappropriate music, right? What were you gonna say?
It was already said.
Okay. Right, she talked a lot about pictures and stuff, right? Nudes, right? Well, in the Army, that's a crime. Okay? Okay, that's a crime now. So we're gonna go to, I'm gonna give it to CID if I hear about it. All right? Understand? Who's CID up here? Which CID do we use up here? Who's the closest? Fort Lee? Okay, all right. So if we got an issue like that, we're gonna call CID. All right, so I've had cadre dependents get D-pics sent to them from a cadet. Right? This is a cadre spouse got D-pics from a cadet. All right, and I called CID, And I was like, would you take this case? And they were like, oh yeah, we'll take that. But they didn't want to pursue it. All right, so that is the thing. Listen.
To like clarify, who can like report for like a sharp whatever?
We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that. All right, and then our last category is physical contact, right? Now, this is, we're still talking about sexual harassment, guys. When does it go outside of sexual harassment and go leads into sexual assault? She talked about groping, right? Remember she said that? Abusive sexual contact, right? Not sexual harassment. This is what sexual harassment is, right here. This is what our Army says it is, but I could say something. When does it go out of the sexual harassment realm and lead into sexual assault? Come on, MS4s, I know I've taught you this before. Yes, sir.
Sergeant, when the victim decides it does, that's a...
When the victim, I like that answer. I do like that answer. Because kissing to me feels like it's sexual assault. So if you report it to me as a sexual, if you come to this and you're reporting a sexual harassment, sexual assault, right? And you feel like you were sexually assaulted, I'm going to file it that way. I don't know if you guys do the same thing.
Yeah, I think the context is very important.
Empowering, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it involves too, anything that involves genitals or breast or anything like that's going to be assault.
She gave the answer for you right there. Hot spots, right? Hot spots. Okay? Butt, right? Groin area. So when it gets into there, that's when we're calling that abusive sexual contact. Non-penetrative. Cool? Okay. Remember those three categories because I'm going to ask you about them later. Okay, we talked about these. What is that? Give me the category of that. Is it verbal or nonverbal or physical contact? Which one? Nonverbal. Okay, what type is it? Is it quid pro quo or a hostile environment? Hostile environment. Okay. Guess where I took this picture, guys? That's me and you. That's my feet right there. I'm in uniform. Where do you think I took this picture? Which one? Where? Here? Here? Up here?
No.
Was it the Express on station?
On Fort Liberty? Yes. Yes. This is on post. This is on post. Fort Liberty. Right? Okay, look at those stickers, right? You see that bottom one? Does it look like it's been there for a while? You see it? The bottom one? It's kind of worn out a little bit, right here? From people like pumping their gas in there, right? So how long do you think those stickers were on there for, guys? Right? A lot. And how many soldiers or leaders saw that and did nothing? Right? Did nothing. We talk about prevention. If you were a victim of a sexual assault, right, and you saw this, you're just going to pump your gas, and you saw this, do you think this would trigger you and bring back some PTSD from that traumatic event? What do you guys think? And make you start thinking about that all over again? All right? See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what we're talking about. Right? Prevention. Can I report this? Formally, you think? I can. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. I can report it formally, right? I can. But what I did is I called the program manager on Fort Liberty. I said, hey, look. Well, I gave him this picture. And I also went to the gas station. I was like, hey, ma'am. You know, I told the manager, I showed the manager, I was like, hey, look at this, you know? And she thought I was sexually harassing her or something, right? I was like, no, man, I'm a sharp guy here on Fort Liberty. This is on pump number 1, right? Because I didn't take them off, I made sure she went to them off. Watch it. Whoa. Okay.
This is like a marketing material, like what is this code in the bottom right corner?
Can you read what it says?
Oh, well, yeah, but I didn't know if it was like a marketing thing.
I think, what I think this is for medics, for like label medication. That's what I think, that's what I think that's what. All right? Okay, some type of medication. What about this one? What do you think about this? Is it sexual harassment? Who thinks it's sexual harassment? No, no one? Nobody? You do? Why?
I mean, that could be creating a hostile environment.
It can create a hostile environment, right? Okay, what do you think this picture is taking out?
That's PX.
Nope.
Insults.
Nope. Nope. At the post gym. Should this be at the post gym, you think? Right? But look, it's got AFES still on there and everything. Okay? It was brought up to sharp, I'm just saying. Okay? So be aware. What you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think sometimes things like this are confusing. So, you know, people see commercials all the time on TV, but the difference is it shouldn't be in a workplace. So, like, you can choose what you want to watch. You can click the channel on and off.
Yeah.
You can choose what posters you want to hang in your private, you know, room or barracks room or apartment or whatever. But stuff like this, I mean.
Should it be at the post gym?
What's
Should
that?
this be at the post gym?
I'm gonna say no.
It was taken down. I just told the program.
But that's not to say there's not things that could be on the line, on the fence, where you're not really quite sure, and that's okay. And that's good to have conversations about. So if you're not sure, you know, ask.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask, like, what happened? Like, you said you reported it, or did you?
Yeah, the way I reported was informal. I was informal. I told the program manager, I was like, hey, this is making people uncomfortable. And I saw this at the gas station.
Or I mean, I guess I meant this one.
Oh, yeah, I can send both pictures to you.
Did anything happen?
This picture got taken down. This got taken down.
What is a post gym?
It's just a gym on the base. Gym on the.
Was it in the lockers? Or just
No, it was just like for everybody to see. Wasn't in the dude's locker room, no. No, it was not. Okay? Did you have a question?
I was just gonna ask along his question, which is, like, are you gonna, like, because whoever, like, the manager of that establishment is, whoever put up the poster there, then effectively guilty for creating that hostile environment, are you gonna go over after that person as well, or? is
No,
it
not
just, like-
necessarily. We're probably just like, this is inappropriate and we need to take it down. That's it. Okay? Did that answer your question?
Because it would be that same poster in the PX by advertisement, if they had it right by those razors and had that poster over that, it probably would be appropriate. Nobody would say anything. It was because when you walked in the gym, and you have females going in that gym, that was brought to us by a female. And I found out later, okay, that's something that men use. So I didn't know that. But she said, this is something that men use, and when I walked in the gym, this is what I saw. And she said, I think it's inappropriate for where they had it placed. So I think if they had it in the PX, right over where those razors and all that stuff is sold, nobody would never say a word about it. It was just misplaced. So.
Okay? All right, here's some other definitions of quid pro quo. All right, we talked about these. In hostile environment, I think we hit on all of them, right? Okay, so Army's policy is 24/7. Unacceptable, not be tolerated, it's 24/7, on and off post, right? Okay? Now, once you get into the Army, or in the Army right now, and you have a spouse or a family member that's 18 and up, they can file sharp complaints, like I told you that one defendant did, for sexual harassment, okay? But they have to be 18 and up. If it's your spouse doing it to you, that goes to the Family Advocacy Program. And if they're under 18, that goes to Family Advocacy Program. You need to know these programs on post, all the programs, okay? For your soldiers, cool? All right, Army civilians, they go to the EEO office. All right, doesn't mean that Sharp's not gonna help them navigate, but they're gonna, to file their complaint, they gotta go to EEO office. Cool? Okay, now we're gonna get into how to report this stuff. Right now, you know how to report from Title IX, right? Now, Army's almost mirror the same, right? Formal, right? We do it on every cadet in here, regardless of your status, you're contracted or not, can file a formal complaint through the Army Sharp office. All right? The process, how it works, is if you're not contracted, I don't use that form. I use a different form. If you're contracted, I use that form. Okay? But the process is insane. She mentioned a 15-6 Army investigation, right? Now, for sexual harassment, we got the investigating officer has 14 calendar days to get that investigation done. Where it gets held up is in legal, right? That's where ours get held up. And it's about the same timeline as Title IX. So it goes through legal review. Now, depending on how many witnesses are named, then they can ask for an extension. But the IO is usually about 30 days, right? But legal is where it gets held up. Okay, that's a formal process. Now that's if you want to have someone held accountable, right? Anonymous. If we get an anonymous complaint, it automatically goes formal. Okay. If we start seeing names and stuff in that man, we know names. You get an email or you get someone just something random, and it's got people's names in there. Say, hey, this person's doing this, but you don't know where it came from. And sexual harassment, then we're going to go formal with it. Okay, we'll just do a 15-6. Yes, ma'am.
Do you allow attorneys in your process?
And the sexual harassment?
Yeah.
Not for sexual harassment. When it comes to sexual assault, we assign what's called a special victims counsel, which people come here to actually be the SVCs. I'll try to give me an SVC. I was like, see if they wanted to talk about it. We didn't run anything with the level. All right, so, but you're going to be read your rights, so you can hire your own attorney, right? But I don't think, you guys are cadets, so I don't know. Are you a JAG officer, sir?
I am, yes.
Do you want to help me answer that a little bit?
So, once the 15-6 process is kicked off, right, once you get complaint for sexual harassment, sexual assault, or CID like you're talking about, the sexual harassment, yes, the attorney is involved with the commander, and they have appointed, and they advise that investigating officer throughout the process of the investigation. When it comes to sexual assault, CID takes it, but CID and the attorney are in contact on a very regular basis, talking about the evidence discovering, the elements of crime. So the attorneys are very much lockstep in both the investigating officer and also CID.
Maybe I answered your question wrong, but I don't think the victim or the subject, do they get representation from JAG?
So the subject would, yes.
What if they're in this status?
I've never dealt with JAG in my life, so I'll put it into that one. But yeah, the subject, like, once you guys join the Army, active duty, yes, 100%. If you're on subject of investigation, you get represented by
TDS. Trial Defense.
Yeah, Trial Defense Services.
Right. So I would say if you want to, I'm not going to give you a lawyer for sexual harassment, right? I can call and request the SVC, but SVCs are only assigned for sexual assault, right? It's going to be on you to get your own attorney for sexual harassment.
So I'll ask.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, what I'm saying is for the defense side, right? So say the accused, they will get what you're saying for the complainant. Yes, I would agree with that. They can go to get an attorney with legal assistance. You can always go to legal assistance if you have specific questions. You can get help, but you're not going to have one assigned to you for sexual harassment. I go for sexual assault.
Okay. All right, everybody hear him? Thank you. Good thing he's in. Good question, man. All right, so informal. This is like, we're just going to handle this. You're talking about this. What'd you call it?
Alternative.
Alternative. Same thing as alternative. All right? So the Candace joke, right? You think I kicked that dude out of the Army? What do you think? No, right? The person came in and told me what was going on. So what do you want to happen? We empowered you guys. I just wanted to stop, right? Just to be talked to. All right, get him. Go get your guy. Bring him over here. to the sheriff office, me and Val are gonna talk to him, right? Or go get this captain that's acting a fool. Val, talk to this captain because I'm a sergeant first class, so the captain's not gonna buck up to Val. All right?
And the thing of it is, that's before the rules, the laws of, I won't say law, the policies change. That was before. Now, they're not giving so much grace to cadets anymore when you're saying candid jokes. Okay? Now you're one and done. Before, it was like, okay, we can bring them over here, we can talk to them, do some sharp training with them, let them know what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. But now, not so much. Okay?
But if you guys hear this stuff, right? You know, and the person's telling jokes or someone's playing WAP at PT, what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? Come on, you guys prevention.
Just tell them to stop.
Tell them stop, right? And if it continues to happen, then what can we, maybe we should call Sharp. Okay, I told you once before, now you still acting a fool? Okay, we're calling Sharp. You understand? Okay? All right, so that's important. We're not taking away your power to check somebody. You're basically just checking somebody. Yes, ma'am?
I have a question. I see you have chain of command under informal. I was wondering if you could clarify both ROTC cadets and cadre-wise and within the Army if there are ever any instances where chain of command might be required to report something if one of their subordinates comes to them with a situation.
Are we talking sexual harassment here?
Reporters, but I don't know if I'm missing anything.
Are we talking about sexual harassment?
Yes, sir.
All right, so if someone, they tell you, ma'am, say, hey, I really don't, this guy keeps on saying this to me, I don't appreciate it, can you tell him to stop? Right, I told that to the ma'am, right? You're gonna probably say, what do we do? I was like, address it. All right, if it continues to be a problem, then we might go formal with it. You understand? Did that answer your question? Now, this is just sexual harassment, okay? Now, we're not talking about sexual assault yet, okay? All right, so you guys know reporting options?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question just for that WAP example? Because I feel like that's I mean, we hear that song in our dining halls all the time.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you're the person that's playing music on the speaker, we do that PT. That song comes on, someone says, hey, turn it off. It's in like your shuffle, then it comes on a second time and they decide to report you. Can that person?
They're gonna use the command is gonna use a reasonable person standard, all right? So we've had this happen to us. We put on our Sharp event, we're playing music through my shuffle, right? Something comes on, I go, Val, is that appropriate? And she's like, probably not. You know? So I was like, yo, we need to turn this off. You know, because I mean that stuff happens, right? Right? So I mean, use the reasonable person standard, right? Like, okay, who knows who the Bare Naked Ladies are? Finally, I get some rock and roll fans, right? If I wore my Bare Naked Ladies concert T-shirt just to work, right? On a casual Friday or whatever, right? And is that appropriate? Huh? No. Can I wear that? Or I wear it to an event? No. Should I be wearing that?
It may be easily construed in a different way.
All right, who does not know who the Bare Naked Ladies are? Do you know? If you saw me wearing a shirt that said Bare Naked Ladies, what would you think? Inappropriate, right? Okay? So I'm like, but it's a band, it's just a band. It's a rock band. You didn't know that, but she thought I felt a certain type of way, right? I'm not trying to sexually harass her, right? Using the reasonable person standard, sergeant's gonna say, Clute, take your shirt off, or no, go change. What are you gonna tell me, sergeant? You go ahead.
I'm not gonna tell you to take your shirt off.
Okay, you tell me.
I will tell you to go back to where either you work or your house, go change your clothes and come back and report to me and make sure that you wear the appropriate uniform.
Okay? Are you gonna call Sharp office?
No.
No. That's what we're talking about informal. Cool? Okay. All right, 60 count. Yes, sir.
Sorry, you talked about before the new rules and after the new rules. Is that still applicable to the new rules?
You guys you still check people, right? Informal. It's still on there. Informal. Cool? Okay, I want to be, if it wasn't, I'm not going to present most stuff, right? Okay. I'm done. What we talked about earlier was an old example, yes.
Thank you, sir.
But if it goes formal, that's what Ms. Stockton was saying, one and done. Okay, don't get confused. If it becomes formal and it's substantiated by the commander, right, by Colonel Farmer, then you're disenrolled. You understand? For wearing a bare naked ladies t-shirt. Or?
I think that's where I'm a little confused, because if that's like the first time, that bare naked ladies example, or they did this joke, and someone decides to report it formally on the first occasion, which obviously they have every liberty to do so, can you then be kicked out of the Army?
The commander is going to use a reasonable person standard to either substantiate it or unsubstantiate
Because it has to be a substantiated.
So you're saying it has to go through the commander?
Yes, it has to go through the commander. It just can like, oh, I'm putting you out, but you wear that shirt now.
Right? Now most of it's going to get filtered through us, right? You're going to come and tell us, and it's like, okay, how do you think we can handle this a better way? What do you want to happen? What do you want to happen, ma'am? Do you want me to wear you just want me not to wear that shirt anymore? Or you want to report it formally? Okay, but if she's like, well, I want to report, I'm pissed off at, let's say, let's just tell someone not to wear a shirt. Understand? We're going to filter that stuff. You know what I mean? Not saying that we're not taking you seriously, right? But we're going to say, hey, we're going to give you different options. All right? You understand? All right, so 60 calendar days for a formal complaint, 45 calendar days for civilians. Don't ask me why it's different. That's just the way it is. All right, does anybody have any question about sexual harassment before we start talking about sexual assault? What are the 3 categories of sexual harassment?
Verbal, nonverbal, and physical.
What are the 2 types of sexual harassment?
Quid pro quo and hostile environment.
Whoa. Okay, what is sexual assault? Someone read the definition for me.
Intentional, where?
Second bullet.
Yeah, okay, sexual assault is defined as intentional sexual contact characterized by the use of force, threats, intimidation, or use of authority, or when the victim does not or cannot consent.
So the term consent means a freely given agreement to the conduct at issue by a competent person. Right, so that sounds like a lot of lawyer language to me. It sounds like Jack's talking to me, right? So what is consent, guys and girls? What does consent mean to you? Permission. Give me permission? Okay, can it, yeah?
Permission and, like it says, Sergeant, you throw, say, alcohol in there, saying yes doesn't really, and they have to be.
Okay.
It's like a dynamic agreement.
What do you mean by that?
It means it can change anytime.
Change it anytime. What'd you have, man?
That is basically if the person is conscious to give permission.
Okay.
Yes or no, Sergeant.
Okay.
It also needs to be specific. It can't be like a vague agreement to something that they don't really know what they're getting into, and then you assume something that's not true. It needs to be something that's specific and agreed upon by both parties.
Very good answers, guys. Keep going.
It should also be enthusiastic. It shouldn't be a reluctant yes.
Okay? Y'all hear this stuff? You guys are well educated, right? You guys,
Can a cadet give a cadre consent?
yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah. Why? Go ahead, dude.
Well, I mean, at the beginning of every year, we sign the cadet cadre agreement. Sorry, I forget the correct title.
Yeah. What's the form called? 29 something? What's that form? Said inappropriate relationship? Well, ask the lawyer, what is that form? Do you know what I've answered? It's some kind of form saying that you're not gonna mess around, you're not gonna be hooking up with cadre, right? Do you want to talk more about it?
No, because right now we got 2 cases going on like that. And the thing of it is, I'm trying to wrap my mind around where does this come into play with training that you think it's okay to sleep with cadets or cadets think it's okay to sleep with cadre?
Consensually.
Consensually. You cannot have a relationship with your cadre. Cannot. You can also get in, even if you said it was consensual, you can be disenrolled for that and have to pay back whatever money we gave you. Okay? You cannot have a relationship with your cadre. You can't say it enough times. There's no such thing as a consensual relationship between cadre and cadets. There's no such animal. That's policy. You having a relationship with each other as cadets, there's no policy that says you cannot date another cadet. There's no way, it's not written anywhere. You want to date each other, that's fine. You cannot date your cadre. Not your law tech, not your HR, cannot. Okay? We're clear.
You can't ask them to get married once you go across stage.
Cannot.
Cannot. I mean, why do you think we bring this up, guys? All right.
And if you ask the cadet to marry you, once they get commissioned, we know you've been dating them the whole time. We're here.
Crazy, crazy. But we tell you, we be aware, well, stay alert. What do you, when I say stay alert, what do you say?
Stay alive.
The only one.
So you said a cadet can get disenrolled for having a relationship with cadre?
Yeah.
Not, so I thought usually when there's a position of power, like cadre and cadet relationship, it falls on the person in that position of power. They're usually held at fault. Is it not the same?
I'll take it, how old?
Probably about 21.
You're grown man, right? Yes. You know not to have a relationship with cadre, right?
Yes, I do.
You sign a form, right, saying, I will not have sexual relations with my cadre.
I
Right?
think his question is, are both held
Both of them be held accountable.
Which they are.
Yeah. Now, you guys are like my daughter's age, younger than my daughter, all right? So I got kids that are your age. So sometimes I look at it a little bit different, but I have to remember, you are grown adults, right? You're grown adults, guys, right? Make the decisions that you're supposed to be making, right? Make the right ones. Okay, yes, ma'am.
But if it's like a rape situation or from the cadre onto a student, then the student's not.
Then you call, that's rape, I mean, sexual assault.
But there's, so it's not just like, it's just like a relationship, like a consensual relationship, that's when both are held accountable.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But most of the time what we get, let me tell you what ended up happening, what has happened. Somebody get a conscience somewhere in there. And they tell. That's what happened to these cases that we're working right now. The cadet decides to say, okay, I can't live with this. I'm going to tell the PMS. I've been speaking with the master sergeant for the last 6 months. 9 times out of 10, you don't get away with it. That's what I'm saying. Just don't do it. Keep it professional at all times. And if you feel like it's getting in the gray area where it's not being professional, you have a PMS. Go talk to your PMS and say, hey, this is happening, and I don't know. And most of the time, people don't know how to tell that person to stop. If they're texting your phone at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, talking about you up, no.
They ain't looking for accountability.
No, that's inappropriate. If they're giving you rides in their POVs, don't take the ride. No special treatment. You all gonna get commissioned if you do the right thing. You don't need any special treatment. So I'm just letting you know, most of the time somebody get a conscience and someone ends up being, neither one of you will be in the Army. Neither one of you. And we had so much cadre misconduct last year, it was really ridiculous. So we're just asking that you just do the right thing.
Okay, so moving on. Okay, so the policy on sexual assault, just like sexual harassment, 24/7 on all posts, right? But now it's a crime now. And we're reporting this to local law enforcement, CID, or Ms. Molly, right? Okay? Now, the question was asked earlier, cadre, all right? What do we do if a cadet tells you that you were sexually assaulted? Sergeant, 101st, everyone.
Report it.
Okay, what if you're a sharp professional?
You still can't take the case.
Okay? All right, so walk me through that process, sir.
So that process, if there is.
What's the first thing, a cadet clue, I'm your cadet, MS1. I come to class, or PT on Monday, and I say, sir, I went to this party last night, I got really faded, right? I woke up with my pants around my ankles, and my backside hurts. Where's your go?
I'm first calling you.
I called you. I told you at PT. All right? I told you at PT. Oh, you're going to call me first?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to first call you. I would also suggest to the cadet call the police immediately, especially if they want to see criminal charges in the investigation. And then I'd also probably inform my PMS also, so we could start a 15-6 investigation that would come from 3 essentially.
Okay. What did he miss? What did he miss,
Ask if they're
Katja?
okay. Ask if they're okay.
Safety, right?
Safety.
Safety. First off, safety. Now, lieutenants, right? When you get Joe comes up to you, one of your privates or something, they come up to you, how are you gonna handle it? Right? Safety first, right? Get the 5 W's, right? Make sure that, go call the police, get in touch with Sharp, right? Report it higher. You understand that? Right? Because everybody in here, who's sharp? Who's been sharp before? All right? That's great, right? But you cannot take any cases and be confidential. All right? You can't be confidential with any of your cases. You got to report it higher because of your position. All right? You understand? Okay? Only people that be doing confidential is myself and Ms. Stock. Okay? You understand? So we said, about Ms. Molly's stuff, CID, if it's cadet on cadet, right? If it's Title IX, if it's a civilian out there that's did it to us, go to Ms. Molly and the police, right? Because 15-6, you're still gonna do 5 W's and all that, 7 W's, all that, send it up to me, but you're also gonna call Title IX too. All right? Okay? So I kind of skipped over the Title IX, you can do it over here. You want to do smoking fire? All right, so that's restricted, right? The restricted means it's going to be confidential between us, you and me, and Ms. Stockton. That's it. We ain't telling nobody else. Okay? There's certain things you can't get. You can't get the protective orders done, like she was talking about. You can't do those. Because who does the protective order is the commander. I had to get it done through the commander. And once the commander finds out, they're mandated reporters, right? We just talked about that. So if you want it to be restricted, you just tell us. You understand? Just me and Ms. Thompson. Okay? Unrestricted is then I want this to go be people held accountable. I want an investigation. I'm telling the police. I'm getting a safe kit done. I'm doing all this. You can still get a safe kit done on the restricted cut side too, though. All right? Just be aware of that. Okay? I'll give you these slides so you can. I see a lot of people taking notes, so I'm gonna continue. All right. So restricted. Now, pay attention to this one, Cadre. You probably don't know this one. If you hear about a sexual assault, right? You hear about it. You have to do what you got to do, right? But that person can still come to us and file it restricted, right? Once we find out it's restricted, or they want to file it restricted, Sharp is hands up. We cannot talk about it. If you ever hear me say, ma'am, I cannot confirm or deny that, that's probably restricted. Okay? All right. But cadets still have that option, unless they go to CID or local law enforcement. Then it's automatically unrestricted. Cool? So, who can take a confidential report? Who is that? Who's your SARC? Who is the SARC? Who is that? Who, her? Try again.
You, sorry.
Me. Who is your victim advocate? And Stockton. Right? Healthcare personnel. Who's that? Who would you say?
Doctors, nurses.
Safe nurses, right? Safe kids, sort of sane nurses, all right? And then that's who can keep it confidential, all right? Chaplains, you can keep it confidential too, but they can't do the report for you, right? Who's in the Army right now? Who's in the Army? Just
Ready to go?
Cadets?
Ready to go. Okay.
Nice.
SMP? That's why I said, like, some of you are in the Army, right? You guys can do the 2910, right? The rest of the cadets, I can't do 2910 for them, man. But I can go about it different ways, right? We're gonna navigate it in different ways. I just can't do the form. Still gonna get the services, just can't do the form. Cool? Where? Yes, ma'am.
So if it's a restricted report, I know that the perpetrator is not held accountable. So then, like, you hear about the stuff that this person is doing, and then they just get to continue on.
You hear about it?
Or like the victim would report it to you, but you can't take any action against them in a restricted report. So then you just kind of, they just get to continue on.
So you're not asking why would you go restricted, baby? Okay, so what I've seen, restricted cases, a lot of men use restricted reporting. Right? A lot of men use that. Because why, is it just a female problem?
No.
All right, a lot of men, why don't we report it, guys? Why don't we report it?
Our egos are too big.
Right? A lot of pride, right? You might just want to just talk to me about it, right? And get some counseling. That make sense?
And the other thing with restricted, if you just tell myself, I'm the one that can take you to get a safe kit done. I can get you counseling at a rape crisis center, even if it's restricted. No one would know about it. The only thing that won't be is that the person that did it to you is not held accountable, but you'll still be able to get the services that you need. The one thing that we do have that unrestricted can do for you, if a cadet is here, if it's cadet on cadet, and if the victim wants to leave this program and take their scholarship with them, they can leave. Okay? So know if it's unrestricted and the commander knows about it, and you want to leave this program and say go to Liberty or go to James Madison somewhere, we can move you to another program. Okay?
Okay?
I think she's also voicing a concern, which you can tell me if I'm right, Cadet Lee, of the monster is still out there circulating in an a restricted report, and the concern that they could be out there hurting other people. That's like the...
Yeah, that's the way of it all, yeah. That if you don't report it, that person is still out there doing it to other people. And that's why we came up with coming out to talk to cadets in 2000, I think it was 17, because we wanted cadets to have another layer besides Title IX, because Title IX was for the university. And what we saw was we was getting all these unfounded cases coming back that cadets were doing stuff, and they were being held accountable, and we were still commissioning them. And when we first started this in 2017, I know for a fact that we commissioned 4 people and then had to go back and get them out the Army and bring them back put them back on the ROTC to make sure they were, take their commission back because they sexual assaulted someone when they was in ROTC. Yes.
So on like the same note, can a cadet move from restricted, or anyone in this case, from a restricted report to an unrestricted?
They can't go the other way, but they can go from restricted to unrestricted. But they can't go unrestricted to restricted. Yes, ma'am.
I know we briefly touched on this earlier, but could you please provide some clarification about it with the university, what the university might report to Army Charlotte versus what you might report to the university, if it's just complainant versus respondent? what that communication looks like.
What we would tell the university, okay, we are very transparent with them. Because if they have a student that, okay, say a student sexual assaulted you, we would want them to do something about that. We are very, but on I don't know about this university, but we've had where we wanted when we were transparent with them, they're not so much with us. So we would be very open with them. If they had a student that we was trying to make sure that they didn't get a degree from, say, University of Virginia, or, or they were locked up. But that plays a lot into the victim also deciding whether or not they're going to pursue this as a criminal case. And so that's why we try to make sure that we're available at all times. Say, if you need someone to go with you to the police station, if you need somebody to go with you to court, that's what we're here for, okay? And like we tell all cadets, if you want someone to be held accountable, even if you, tell your cadre. Because when the cadre is not around, we ask, do you trust your cadre? Don't be afraid to call them at 3 o'clock in the morning from a club or whatever and say, hey, somebody's apartment, and say this happened to me. Do not be afraid. I know y'all have a chain of command, cadet chain of command. Do not be afraid to use that. Because trust me, the Army's not that big. And if everybody stay in this, if everybody here get commissioned, you stay in the Army 20 years, everybody get, you will still again. And do you want to see someone in here that sexual assaulted you? No. So that's why we're here. Let's wean them out early. If there's a person in here that's sexual assaulting or sexual harassing someone, you want them gone. Okay? So don't be afraid to use the numbers that you have. Yes, cadre are mandatory reporters. They are. Anything you tell them, they do have to report it. They cannot keep your secret. So don't go to one of them and say, hey, I want to tell you something. Not even your supply or your HR. I got something to tell you. This is what happened, but I don't want anyone to know. They can't keep that secret. They automatically have to report it. Even if you decide that you don't want to talk about it anymore after you tell them, they still have to report it up. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
So I had a question about, so is SHARP as a resource used to deal primarily with cadet infractions? Because you said that you had reports that increased over summer break, winter break. So I was assuming that meant like between like a cadet and then someone who's outside of the program.
Sometimes, but then y'all hang out with each other. Y'all go spring break with each other. You hang out with the people that you know. And most of the time, the people that sexual assaulted, it's not no stranger jumping out the bushes. Most of the time, it's someone you know. So yeah, some at CST. We've had somebody to sexual harass somebody from CST with their phone. This nasty, excuse me, this horrible. Yeah, so it happens. So yeah.
We also service the cadre too, right? We're here for the cadre. We're assigned for you guys and the cadre, right? And we also reach out to the high schools, the junior level too. Like when you guys go to your junior high or their high school level, and you guys do that? No one?
So would you report something if it was between like a cadet and then like someone outside of the program who wasn't a cadet?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
call us, yeah.
Yes.
Call
Yes,
us.
for sure.
Yeah, because we're gonna help you, we're gonna get Miss Molly on the phone. We'll see you explore your options first. You wanna keep it quiet, and Miss Stockton would say, well, I just wanna get these resources. Most definitely. Yeah, because we're here for you guys. Cool? All right, so barriers to intervention, right? We're almost done, hang in with me. All right, this is why we don't report, right? Remember I said we were gonna talk about this stuff? I talked about the drinking earlier, right? Okay? Ma'am, are we gonna worry if someone tells you you're sexually assaulted, are you gonna bust them because they were drinking underage?
No.
Okay, you heard it from her, she said it, all right? So don't let that be a barrier, right? You shouldn't be drinking under 21, but that doesn't give you, the person, the right to rape you or sexually assault you. So if you want to report it, don't worry about it, because you just heard it from her, right? And Colonel Palmer will say the same thing. We're not gonna focus on that. You understand? Okay. All right. Retaliation. We talked about, Miss Molly talked about retaliation, right? Comes in ostracism, right? Maltreatment, reprisal, right? Stuff like that. You guys understand what that is? Okay? It can come in like through texts, social media, stuff like that. If retaliation is going on, let us know. That goes to IG. Cool? Okay. All right, so we're the wheeler shark is broken. Okay? You remember the wheeler shark from last year? It's busted, but we got this card. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna come up here, you're gonna read this card, what I have in my hand, right? Tell your class, you read it, say, hey, this is sexual harassment. It's creating a hostile environment, and it's verbal, right? And then you're gonna say, oh, how am I gonna intervene? All right, should I direct? Should I be direct? Should I distract them, or should I delegate? All right, you're gonna decide, right? Okay, you understand the rules?
Yes, sir.
So don't get up here and start fumbling, right? Okay? So you're gonna tell your class how you're gonna intervene. You can use all 3 Ds if you want. Whoa? Okay, so MS1, who wants to go first? Come on. Don't read them to me, read them to your class. Not this, because they're monitored like this. The card.
The card content.
You're at a frat party and notice a clearly intoxicated student is being verbally and physically harassed by another student. What would I do?
What category is that? You guys help them out.
Is it sexual harassment or
Oh,
something?
harassment.
What kind of harassment?
Hostile environment.
Okay, and then the 3 types.
3 types. Verbal, and physical, actually.
So what would you do?
I would address him.
How?
I would be like, stop that.
And then?
3Ds.
So you're going to be direct with them? How are you going to be direct?
To stop.
In that tone?
Oh, you want me to say it?
Yeah.
Hey man, that's not cool.
All right, okay. Is he right?
Yep.
Okay, give him a round of applause. Y'all know how this works, right?
Yes.
Who's next? MS2? This is time for you guys, see what y'all learn. I'm just going to stand back here. All right? Lee was helping y'all out very good.
Okay, you and your friends stop in for a happy hour. They start rating the women from each sorority house. So this is sexual harassment. It's a hostile environment. I would say this is verbal. And
Ladies.
Yeah, I'd be direct. I would tell them that they're objectifying women. It's not appropriate to do, even if it's outside of, if we were cadets and it was outside of, uniform, or even if it was just friends, people that I know, it's not appropriate. I would want someone doing that to me personally.
Is she right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want to say a little bit about this one. All right, are we making lists are we doing this? Do we have lists of girls who we're going to run through? Or girls, do you have a list of guys who you're going to run through? Why do you think I bring it up?
Because it happens.
Because your other company, your other battalions do have those lists. They do have those lists, right? I don't know what they used to be called, hot or not, or whatever back in the day. I don't know what y'all call it now, but there are those lists. Don't be doing that, guys. All right? You understand? Get hemmed up. All right, 3.
MS3.
No
more.
you're at a bar and you believe you see someone handle a drink that doesn't belong to them. I'd say this is sexual harassment. It is physical, or it's nonverbal, but it's kind of physical because they're intending on doing something. Let's see. 3Ds. I would probably directly go up to the person, but I'd also delegate to the people that are running the bar and say, this person needs to get out of there, because I don't have authority over that. But I would directly go to them and say, intervene, get the heck out of there, get them out of the environment.
Okay, you're right. I like how you delegated. You first said, I'm gonna go check them right off the bat. You don't know these first people, right? You don't know that. It'd be crazy, right? You have to get someone to delegate, right? Okay. 4?
All right. Classmates in your group are making sexual jokes about the opposite sex. So, all right, so that's obviously verbal, hostile environment. And, okay, now it's the 3D, right? So, I mean, that's pretty easy, direct. You just say, like, I don't know, I'll be like, yo, like, chill, like, don't say that kind of stuff. Especially about, like, the people that we're in RTC with, like, people that we serve with. We shouldn't treat them like that.
Yeah. You right? I like how he uses, yo, chill, right? It didn't make it too, like, uncomfortable, but, you know, he got his point across. Should we have Cadre go?
Yes.
Yes. You can tell who's going.
You're told that your boss looks you up and down and watches you walk away. So, this is sexual harassment, nonverbal, in a hostile work environment. You got that right. So if someone told me that, I would delegate, do something different than direct of what we talked. So I'd probably talk to another cadre member to, I would say, intervene and talk to the boss that looked me up and down or whoever it was to pretty much tell them that I was uncomfortable with that. So having a third party intervene for me.
You're right. So, bottom line, we notice the event, we interpret it as a problem, we accept the responsibility for doing something, and we use the 3Ds, how are we going to intervene and then finally execute it? Okay. I mean, I know these are just cards, but you guys find yourself in these situations. So just remember those 3Ds. Like, how would I intervene? How am I going, you know? I'm gonna call this person out. Is it appropriate for me to call him out? Are we too faded? I'm not to be afraid for my life, right? I'll get some backup, right? Okay? Or I need to tell PMS because she needs to know, right? Okay, so just remember those 3Ds. All right, we're gonna treat everybody with respect, right? That's the bottom line. That's how we're gonna do more prevention. Treat everybody with dignity and respect. Make sure we talk about consent. You all, when we were doing the consent stuff, you guys all hit on that boundary stuff. I think it was you that were talking about, you know, you agree to this, right, but not this, right, okay? You have the right to say no. We talked about drinking, travel in groups, safeguard each other, and intervene. We just did that. Okay, do your part to keep our arms safe. Okay, I want to, before we're done, we break out. I know Ms. Stockton wants to talk to the girls for a little bit. I want to talk to the guys. The guys are going to go into that classroom right over there if it's empty, right? Okay, and just like 10 minutes. But I want to hear. Don't. Just chill. Okay? Like. What are you saying, Mitch?
Oh, Bernardi.
Chill. All right. I want to hear from one more cadet, and I want an essay answer. okay? Because you guys are in college, you guys write essays and stuff. I want to know what you are going to do to make the Army Sharp program better, right? And what you're going to do, what culture are you going to promote when you get your units, and how do you look at this now, right? How do you look at Sharp as an Army officer?